Jake Morrison stood at the observation deck of Nexus Prime, watching ships come and go through the massive docking ports. The trading station was bigger than any city he had seen on Earth. Hundreds of alien species walked past him every minute, speaking languages he could not understand. Some were tall and thin with forearms. Others were covered in scales or had skin that glowed in the dark. After 2 months stationed here, he still felt like a stranger in this part of space. He checked his watch. His shift did not start for another hour. The diplomatic security detail was easy work most days. Stand outside meeting rooms, check identification badges, make sure nobody caused trouble at the fancy dinners where ambassadors talked about trade deals and peace agreements. It was boring compared to his old job with the rescue teams back on Earth, but it paid well and let him see the galaxy. The station suddenly shook. The floor moved under his feet. Red lights flashed along the walls. An alarm screamed through the corridors. Jake grabbed the railing to keep from falling. Around him, aliens shouted in panic. Some ran toward the exits. Others pulled out communication devices and started making calls. His training kicked in immediately. He touched the earpiece in his ear and opened the security channel. The voices coming through were chaotic. An explosion in the diplomatic wing. Multiple casualties. Fire on 3 levels. Someone was screaming about a breach in the hull. Jake did not wait for orders. He ran toward the diplomatic wing, pushing through the crowd of people trying to escape. His military instincts told him something was wrong. Explosions on stations like this did not happen by accident. The security systems were too good. This was an attack. Smoke filled the corridors as he got closer. Emergency lights cast everything in red. He could hear the sound of weapons fire ahead. Jake pulled out his sidearm and moved carefully along the wall. 2 bodies lay in the hallway. One was a station guard. The other wore the uniform of a diplomat he did not recognize. He found the source of the explosion quickly. A large meeting hall had collapsed on one side. Metal beams hung from the ceiling at dangerous angles. Broken glass covered the floor. Small fires burned in several places. Jake could see more bodies in the wreckage, but some of them were still moving. Then he heard it. A woman's voice, weak but calling for help. Jake climbed over the debris, careful not to disturb anything that might collapse further. The voice came from under a fallen section of the ceiling. He dropped to his knees and looked through a gap in the wreckage. A young woman was trapped underneath. Her skin was pale blue, almost like ice. Her hair was silver and fell around her shoulders. Blood ran down the side of her face. She looked at him with eyes that were a strange purple color. She tried to speak, but her voice was too quiet. Jake checked the air quality monitor on his wrist. The oxygen levels were dropping fast. There was a breach somewhere nearby, venting atmosphere into space. They had maybe 10 minutes before the air became too thin to breathe. He needed to work fast. He pulled out his utility tool and started cutting through the metal, pinning her down. The woman watched him with growing awareness. She said something in a language he did not know. Her voice was urgent, warning him about something. Jake did not understand the words, but he understood the tone. Danger was coming. He heard boots on metal behind him. Jake turned just as 3 figures in black armor appeared in the doorway. They carried military-grade weapons, the kind that could punch through station walls. Mercenaries. They saw Jake and raised their guns. Jake dove behind a piece of debris as energy blasts tore through the air where he had been standing. He returned fire, forcing them to take cover. His mind raced. These were not random looters. They were here for a reason. They were here for the woman. He had to get her out now. Jake holstered his weapon and grabbed the heavy beam pinning her legs. He lifted with all his strength, muscles burning with the effort. The beam moved just enough. The woman pulled herself free with a gasp of pain. Her left leg was badly injured. More weapons fire echoed through the hall. Jake pulled the woman behind cover and checked her injuries quickly. Broken leg, possible concussion, cuts and bruises everywhere. She would not be able to walk on her own. He would have to carry her. The woman grabbed his arm. Her grip was surprisingly strong. She pointed at something on her belt. A small device with a blue light. Jake recognized it as an emergency beacon. She wanted him to activate it. He pressed the button and the light changed to green. The mercenaries were getting closer. Jake could hear them moving through the wreckage, searching. He looked around for another way out. There, a maintenance hatch in the floor, partially hidden by debris. These hatches connected to the service tunnels that ran throughout the station. It was a risk, but staying here meant certain death. He pulled the hatch open and looked down. The tunnel was dark and narrow, but it would have to work. Jake lifted the woman carefully, trying not to hurt her injured leg. She bit back a cry of pain. He lowered her through the hatch first, then dropped down after her. The tunnels were pitch black. Jake activated the light on his wrist device. The beam cut through the darkness, showing pipes and cables running along the walls. He picked up the woman again, carrying her in his arms. She was lighter than he expected. Behind them, he heard the mercenaries find the hatch. Shouts echoed down the tunnel. They were coming. Jake ran, his boots splashing through puddles of water that leaked from the pipes. The woman held onto his neck, her face pressed against his shoulder. He took random turns, trying to lose their pursuers in the maze of passages. Left, then right, then straight for 100 meters. The maintenance tunnels were not designed for running, and he had to duck under low-hanging pipes. His lungs burned and his arms ached from carrying the woman, but he did not stop. After what felt like an hour, but was probably only 10 minutes, Jake found what he was looking for. A service elevator that would take them to the secure sectors of the station. He set the woman down carefully and pressed the call button. The elevator was 3 levels away. Come on, he thought. Hurry up, the woman spoke again. This time Jake recognized a few words. She was speaking Galactic Standard, the common trade language, but with a heavy accent. She was thanking him, saying he saved her life. Jake shook his head. They were not safe yet. The elevator arrived with a soft chime. Jake helped the woman inside and hit the button for the Valtorian sector. Every major species had their own protected area on Nexus Prime. If she was Valtorian, her people would have security there. They would be safe. As the elevator rose, the woman looked at him with those strange purple eyes. She asked his name, Jake told her. She smiled despite the pain she was obviously feeling. She said her name was Zara. Just Zara, nothing more. Jake did not know why she did not give her full name, but it did not matter right now. The elevator doors opened onto the Valtorian sector. Guards in silver armor immediately surrounded them, weapons drawn. They shouted at Jake in their language. One of them reached for Zara. She spoke quickly, urgently, gesturing at Jake. The guards lowered their weapons but kept them ready. Medical personnel rushed forward with a floating stretcher. They took Zara from Jake's arms and began examining her injuries. She kept looking back at him as they carried her away, saying something he could not understand. Then she was gone, disappearing through a set of heavy doors that closed behind her. Jake stood there exhausted and confused. His uniform was torn and covered in blood, most of it not his own. His arms felt like they were made of rubber. 2 Valtorian guards remained with him, watching him carefully. One of them spoke in broken Galactic Standard. They wanted him to come with them. There would be questions. He nodded and followed them deeper into the Valtorian sector. Jake had no idea who Zara really was or why mercenaries had tried to kill her. He had just done what anyone would do, helped someone in trouble. But as he walked through corridors lined with guards and saw the level of security around him, he began to realize that Zara was not just anyone. He had saved someone important. Very important. And that, Jake would soon learn, was going to change his life forever. Jake woke up in a room that was far too nice for someone like him. The bed was huge and comfortable. The walls were made of something that looked like crystal but felt warm to the touch. Through the window, he could see mountains that stretched into the clouds. This was not Nexus Prime anymore. This was a planet. 3 days had passed since he saved Zara. 3 days of questioning, medical examinations, and waiting. The Valtorian officials had been polite but firm. They needed to verify his story, check his background, make sure he was not part of the attack. Jake understood. If the situation were reversed, humans would do the same thing. What he did not understand was why they brought him here. To Valtoria Prime, the homeworld of the Valtorian Empire, a servant had told him this was the royal palace. Jake had laughed at first, thinking it was a joke, but the servant had not been joking. The door opened. A tall Valtorian man entered, wearing armor that looked like it cost more than everything Jake owned. His face was hard and his eyes were cold. He spoke in perfect Galactic Standard. You are Jake Morrison, human. Officer in the United Earth Defense Force. You saved someone on Nexus Prime 3 days ago. The man did not ask. He stated facts. Jake stood up. Yes, sir. I helped a woman who was trapped. She was injured. I got her to safety. The man walked closer. Do you know who she was? She said her name was Zara. That is all I know. The man stopped right in front of Jake. Princess Zarathiel, daughter and heir to Queen Lysandra. You saved the life of the next ruler of the Valtorian Empire. Jake felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. A princess. He had saved a princess. That explained the mercenaries. The heavy security. The fact that he was now standing in a palace on an alien world. I did not know, Jake said quietly. She needed help. That is all that mattered to me. The man studied him for a long moment. That is what the princess said. That you did not ask who she was. You simply acted. He paused. I am High Commander Torin, head of the Royal Guard. It was my failure that allowed the princess to be in danger. Your actions prevented a disaster that would have meant war. Jake did not know what to say to that. Commander Torin did not look like someone who failed at anything. The man was huge, built like a warrior, with scars that spoke of many battles. Jake felt small in comparison. The Queen wishes to see you, Torin said. You will come with me now. They walked through corridors that seemed to go on forever. The palace was enormous. Every surface was beautiful, covered in art or made from materials that shimmered in the light. Guards stood at every corner, watching Jake with suspicious eyes. He did not blame them. He was an outsider, an alien in their most sacred place. They reached a set of massive doors. 2 guards pushed them open. The room beyond was a throne room, but not like anything from Earth's history. It was modern and ancient at the same time. Technology mixed with tradition. At the far end, sitting on a raised platform, was the Queen. Queen Lysandra was the most intimidating person Jake had ever seen. She wore robes that seemed to be made of liquid silver. Her hair was long and white, flowing down her back. Her eyes were the same purple as Zara's, but harder, filled with the weight of ruling an empire. She looked at Jake like she could see into his soul. Approach, she said. Her voice was not loud, but it filled the room. Jake walked forward. He had no idea what protocol he should follow. Should he bow? Kneel? He settled for standing straight, the way he would before a superior officer. When he reached the base of the platform, he stopped. You saved my daughter's life, the Queen said. She stared at him without blinking. Why? The question surprised him. Because she needed help, Your Majesty. I am trained for rescue operations. I could not leave her there. You did not know who she was. No, I learned that later. You fought armed mercenaries to protect her. You risked your life for a stranger. Yes. Why? The Queen asked again. Jake took a breath. Because it was the right thing to do. Where I come from, we have a saying. We leave no one behind. It does not matter who they are. If someone needs help, you help them. The Queen was silent for a long time. Jake could feel her eyes on him, judging, measuring. He had heard that Valtorians could read minds. He hoped it was not true. His thoughts right now were a confused mess. Finally she spoke. You are honest. That is rare, especially in this palace. She leaned forward slightly. My daughter says you saved her twice. Once from the debris, once from the mercenaries. She says you carried her through the station tunnels while enemies hunted you. Is this true? I did what was necessary to get her to safety. A small smile appeared on the Queen's face, but it was not warm. According to our oldest laws, when someone saves a royal heir from certain death, they become bound to that heir. The law is called Life Guardian. It has not been invoked in 300 years, but it still stands. Jake did not like where this was going. What does that mean, Your Majesty? It means you cannot leave. You are now Zara's Life Guardian. You will stay by her side. Protect her. This is not a choice. It is law. The words hit Jake like a physical blow. With respect, Your Majesty. I have duties back on Nexus Prime. I am a serving officer. I have orders. Your superiors have been contacted. They agree this is a diplomatic necessity. You have been reassigned, the Queen said. There was no room for argument in her voice. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. I understand you are grateful, Your Majesty. But I did not ask for a reward. I do not want to be held here against my will. This is not about what you want, the Queen said, her voice sharp. This is about what our law requires. You saved my daughter. That creates a bond that cannot be broken. You will remain here. You will learn our ways. You will protect Zara with your life, as you have already shown you are willing to do. Before Jake could respond, a door to the side opened. Zara walked in, moving slowly. Her leg was in some kind of brace, but she was walking on her own. She looked much better than the last time Jake had seen her. Her wounds were healed. Her silver hair was clean and styled. She wore a simple dress that somehow looked elegant on her. "Mother," Zara said, looking at the queen. "Please. He does not understand our customs." "Then you will explain them to him," the queen replied. She stood up from her throne. "Jake Morrison, you are now part of this household. You will be given quarters in the royal wing. You will have access to our training facilities. You will learn our language and our protocols. Commander Torin will oversee your integration into the palace guard." She walked down from the platform and stopped in front of Jake. She was tall, taller than him, and her presence was overwhelming. "Do not mistake this for imprisonment. You have earned great honor. Few beings in the galaxy can say they have saved a life as valuable as my daughter's. But honor comes with responsibility. You will fulfill that responsibility, or you will face consequences." Jake wanted to argue, to fight, to demand his freedom, but he could see it would be useless. The queen had made her decision. His own government had agreed to it. He was trapped, bound by a law he did not understand in a culture that was alien to him. He looked at Zara. She was watching him with an expression he could not read. Was it sympathy, guilt? He could not tell. The queen left the throne room, taking most of her attendants with her. Commander Torin remained, along with Zara. The silence was heavy. Finally, Zara spoke. "I am sorry. I did not know this would happen. If I had known, I would have told you who I was." Jake shook his head. "It would not have changed anything. I still would have helped you. But I do not belong here, Princess. I am a soldier, not a bodyguard for royalty." "You belong here now," Torin said. His voice was not unkind. "I know this is difficult, but the law is clear. You saved her life. That makes you responsible for it. In our culture, that is the highest honor." Jake looked around the throne room, at the beautiful walls, the advanced technology, the alien world beyond the windows. This was his life now, whether he wanted it or not. And as he stood there, he realized something that scared him more than the mercenaries had. He was completely alone, light years from home, in a place where he did not understand the rules, where every person saw him as an outsider. He had saved a princess, and now he was paying the price. 2 weeks had passed since Jake became a life guardian. 2 weeks of confusion, frustration, and learning. The palace guards looked at him like he was a joke. The noble families whispered when he walked by. Even the servants seemed uncomfortable around him. He was a human in a world that had never seen a human in this role before. Training was brutal. Commander Torin did not believe in going easy on anyone, especially not on Jake. Every morning before the sun rose, Jake was in the training yard, learning Valtorian combat styles, studying their weapons, practicing their defensive formations. His body ached constantly. Bruises covered his arms and legs. But he did not complain. Complaining would only prove them right, that he did not belong here. The worst part was being around Zara. As her life guardian, he had to stay close to her at all times. When she attended court meetings, he stood behind her chair. When she walked in the gardens, he followed 10 steps back. When she ate dinner, he waited outside the dining room. It was awkward for both of them. Zara tried to talk to him sometimes, asked him about Earth, about his family, about what he liked to do when he was not working. Jake kept his answers short and polite. He did not want to be rude, but he also did not want to pretend this situation was normal. He was here because of a law he did not agree with. Nothing more. Everything changed on the night of the garden ceremony. It was some kind of celebration. Jake never fully understood what for. Hundreds of nobles gathered in the royal gardens under the light of 3 moons. There was music and dancing and speeches that went on too long. Jake stood at his post near Zara, watching the crowd, feeling out of place in the formal uniform they had given him. He saw it before anyone else did. A shimmer in the air like heat waves on a summer day. But it was night and the air was cool. Jake's instincts screamed at him. Something was wrong. He looked around quickly. Most of the guards were watching the crowd. Nobody was looking up. Nobody was looking at the empty spaces between people, cloaking technology. The thought hit him like ice water. Someone was using cloaking devices. He could not see them clearly, but he could see the distortion. 3 of them. Moving through the crowd toward the stage where Zara stood with her mother and other important officials. Jake did not think. He moved. Launching himself forward, he crashed into Zara, knocking her to the ground. Something whistled through the air where her head had been a second before. A small dart hit the pillar behind her and smoke rose from where it struck. Poison. The garden erupted into chaos. Guards shouted and drew weapons. People screamed and ran in all directions. Jake rolled with Zara, putting his body between her and where he had seen the shimmer. Another dart hit him in the shoulder. Fire exploded through his body. The poison burned as it entered his bloodstream. Through the pain, Jake pulled his weapon. He fired at the shimmer using instinct more than sight. The energy blast hit something solid. A figure appeared as the cloaking device failed. A reptilian alien in black armor. The assassin fell, but two more were still active. Jake could feel his strength leaving him. The poison was working fast, but he could not stop. Would not stop. He pushed himself up, shielding Zara with his body. One of the assassins appeared right in front of him, blade raised. Jake blocked with his left arm. The blade cut deep, but he used his right hand to grab the assassin's throat. He squeezed until the alien stopped moving. The royal guards finally reacted. They surrounded the area, weapons firing. The third assassin tried to escape but was cut down before reaching the garden wall. Commander Torin appeared, his face dark with rage. He looked at Jake, who was swaying on his feet. Blood ran down his arm. His shoulder felt like it was on fire. Jake's legs gave out. He fell to his knees. The world spun around him. He heard Zara screaming his name, felt hands catching him before he hit the ground. Then everything went dark. When Jake woke up, he was not sure how much time had passed. Days, maybe. The room was bright and clean. Medical equipment surrounded his bed, beeping and flashing with information he could not read. His body felt strange, different, like it was his but also not his. A doctor came in when she saw him moving. She was Valtorian with kind eyes and a gentle voice. She explained what happened in simple galactic standards so he would understand. The poison should have killed him in minutes. Human bodies were not designed to fight Valtorian toxins, but they had used experimental treatment. Bioenhancement technology that the military used for their elite soldiers. The treatment saved his life, but it also changed him. The bioenhancement had integrated with his human cells in ways they did not expect. His body was healing faster than normal. His reflexes were quicker. His strength was greater. The doctor called it a lucky accident. Jake called it terrifying. But the biggest change was something else. Something the doctor explained very carefully. Jake could now sense emotions from people around him. Not clearly like Valtorians who could read minds, but he could feel strong emotions, fear, anger, happiness. It was like a sixth sense he never asked for. He was still processing this when Zara entered the room. She looked tired, like she had not slept in days. Her eyes were red. When she saw Jake was awake, relief flooded across her face. He could feel it. Actually feel her emotion like a warm wave washing over him. "You are awake," she said softly. She came closer to the bed. "The doctor said you might not survive. The poison was too strong. Takes more than poison to kill a human," Jake said. His voice was rough. His throat hurt. Zara sat in the chair next to his bed. "You saved my life again. You took the poison dart meant for me. You fought assassins while dying." Why, Jake looked at her. "Because that is my job now. I am your life guardian. That means I protect you even though you did not want this role. Even though my mother forced this on you." He was quiet for a moment. "I did not want it." "That is true. But once I accept a duty, I fulfill it. That is who I am." Zara's emotions washed over him again. Guilt, gratitude, something else he could not name. She reached out and took his hand. "I am sorry. For all of this. You saved me twice now. Almost died both times. And it is because I was careless. Because I wanted to see the galaxy and did not think about the dangers. You are not responsible for what happened," Jake said. "Bad people tried to kill you. That is not your fault. But you are paying the price for my survival." She squeezed his hand gently. "The doctors told me what the treatment did to you. You are not fully human anymore. Not fully Valtorian either. You are something in between. Because of me." Jake pulled his hand back. He did not want her pity. "I am alive. That is what matters." He changed the subject. "Did they catch who sent the assassins?" Zara shook her head. "Mother has her intelligence people investigating. But whoever is behind this is good at hiding. The assassins had no identification. Their equipment was military grade but could have come from anywhere. They will try again, Jake said. This is the second attempt. Someone wants you dead very badly, I know. That is why I am glad you are alive. I need you, Jake, not just as a guardian, but as someone I can trust. The palace is full of people who smile at me while plotting behind my back. You are different. You do not want anything from me except to keep me safe. Jake studied her face. For the first time since arriving on Valtoria, he saw past the princess. Saw the young woman who was scared and alone, who had the weight of an empire on her shoulders, who knew that people wanted to kill her for reasons that had nothing to do with who she was as a person. We need to find out who is behind this, Jake said, before they succeed. The next day, Queen Lysandra came to visit him. She stood at the foot of his bed, looking at him with those sharp purple eyes. You have proven yourself twice now. My guards who thought you were a joke now speak of your skill. The nobles who mocked you now whisper in fear. You have done in 2 weeks what many warriors cannot do in a lifetime. I was doing my duty, Jake said. The queen came closer. She lowered her voice so only he could hear. I need to tell you something. Something I have told very few people. I am dying. The same group that is trying to kill Zara poisoned me years ago. Slowly, quietly. I have perhaps 2 years left. Jake stared at her in shock. Does Zara know? No, and you will not tell her. The queen's voice was firm. I am telling you because you need to understand. When I invoked the Life Guardian Law, it was not just about saving Zara from that attack. It was about giving her someone loyal, someone who cannot be bought or threatened, someone who will stand with her when I am gone. I saw something in you that day on Nexus Prime. Integrity. A rare thing in the halls of power. That is why I chose you. Not because of the law, but because I knew you would protect her truly. She paused. Now I'm asking you directly. Not as your queen, but as a mother who fears for her child. Will you stand with Zara? Will you help her survive what is coming? Jake looked at this powerful woman who ruled billions of people, who commanded fleets and armies, and saw her fear, her love for her daughter, her desperation. You could have sent me home, Jake said, found a diplomatic way to release me from the bond. Why did you not? Because you are what she needs. Someone honest in a world of lies, someone brave in a court of cowards, someone who sees her as a person, not as a political tool. Jake made his decision. He could leave. The queen was giving him that choice now. Even if she did not say it directly, he could demand release from the Life Guardian bond. Go back to his old life. Be human again instead of this strange thing he was becoming. But he thought about Zara, about the assassins that would keep coming, about what would happen if she faced them alone. And he realized something. He did not want to leave. Not anymore. Somewhere in the past 2 weeks, this had stopped being a prison and started being something else. Purpose. I will stay, Jake said, not because of the law, but because it is right. I will protect her. I will stand with her. For as long as she needs me, the queen smiled. It was the first real smile he had seen from her. Good. Then we have much work to do, because the enemies in the shadows are many, and they will not stop until Zara is dead. She left the room and Jake lay back in his bed, wondering what he had just committed himself to. But deep down he knew. He had found something worth fighting for, and he would not let it go. 6 months had passed since the garden attack. 6 months since Jake made his choice to stay. Life in the palace had changed. The guards no longer looked at him like he was a joke. The nobles still whispered, but now there was respect mixed with a suspicion. Jake had proven himself in their eyes. But the biggest change was between Jake and Zara. They had become friends. Real friends. When she attended boring council meetings, she would catch his eye and make small faces that made him want to laugh. When he trained with the guards, she would sometimes watch and cheer when he won a match. They ate breakfast together every morning, talking about everything and nothing. Jake taught her about Earth, about rain and snow and oceans, about music and movies and food from 100 different cultures. Zara was fascinated by all of it. She asked questions constantly. What was coffee like? How did humans celebrate birthdays? Why did they shake hands instead of bowing? In turn, Zara taught him about Valtoria, about their history that stretched back thousands of years, about their art and philosophy, about the telepathic bonds that connected their families. She helped him control his new abilities, teaching him how to block out emotions when they became too much, how to focus his senses, how to use this strange gift he never wanted, but they had not found the conspiracy. Whoever was behind the attacks was careful. The assassins left no trails. The investigation hit dead ends at every turn. It frustrated Jake. He was trained to solve problems. But this problem stayed hidden in the shadows. Then Duke Kavros made his move. The Duke was one of the most powerful nobles in the Empire. He controlled 3 star systems and commanded a private military force almost as large as the Royal Guard. He was old, traditional, and openly hostile to Queen Lysandra's reforms. Jake had seen him at court functions, always surrounded by supporters, always watching the Queen and Zara with cold eyes. The Duke made his challenge during a full court session. Jake stood behind Zara's chair as always, half listening to the boring discussions about trade agreements and mining rights. Then Kavros stood up and spoke in a loud voice that filled the room. "I call for a trial by combat." His words silenced the entire court. All eyes turned to him. The Duke looked directly at Jake. "I challenge the human who calls himself Life Guardian. He has dishonored our traditions by accepting a role meant only for Valtorian warriors. Let him prove he is worthy or let him admit he is not." Jake felt Zara's anger like a physical wave. She stood up, her voice sharp. "You have no right to make this challenge. Jake has proven his worth twice over. He saved my life while your guards failed, which is why I question if he truly understands what it means to be Life Guardian," the Duke replied smoothly. "A lucky rescue does not make one a warrior. Let him face my champion in the ancient arena. If he wins, I will never question his place again. If he loses, he returns to Earth where he belongs." The court erupted in whispers. Queen Lysandra raised her hand for silence. She looked at Jake for a long moment. "This is your choice, Jake Morrison. The law does not require you to accept this challenge. You can refuse without shame." Jake knew it was a trap. If he refused, the Duke would spread word that he was a coward, that Zara was protected by someone who feared combat. It would weaken her position. Weaken the Queen. The nobles who opposed them would have ammunition for their political games. "I accept," Jake said. His voice carried across the silent room. "Name the time and place," the Duke smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Tomorrow at dawn, in the ancient arena beneath the palace, my champion against you. Traditional weapons only. No technology, no armor. First blood or submission." That night Zara was furious. She paced back and forth in her private chambers while Jake sat quietly watching her. "This is madness. You do not have to do this. My mother can order the Duke to withdraw the challenge. That would make her look weak," Jake said, "and it would make me look like I need her protection. No, this is the right choice. You could die." Zara stopped pacing and looked at him. "The Duke's champion is a master warrior. He has fought in hundreds of battles. You have only trained for 6 months, then I will learn fast. This is not a joke." Her voice rose. "I cannot lose you. Not like this. Not in some stupid political game." Jake stood and walked to her. He could feel her emotions clearly now. Fear, worry, something deeper that neither of them had acknowledged. He took her hand gently. "I will not lose. I promise you that. How can you be so sure because I have something to fight for?" He squeezed her hand. "Someone to protect. That makes me stronger than any champion." Commander Torin helped him prepare. The old warrior spent the entire night teaching Jake everything he could. Fighting techniques, weak points in Valtorian anatomy, how to read an opponent's movements, how to turn defense into attack. Jake absorbed it all, pushing his enhanced body to its limits. Dawn came too quickly. The ancient arena was deep beneath the palace, carved into living rock thousands of years ago. It was circular, about 50 meters across, with stone walls rising up on all sides. Torches provided the only light, casting dancing shadows everywhere. The noble families filled the viewing galleries above. Jake could see Zara sitting with her mother, her face pale. The Duke's champion entered from the opposite side. He was massive, even for a Valtorian, covered in old scars, moving with the confidence of someone who had never lost a fight. He carried 2 curved blades that caught the torchlight. His eyes were empty of emotion as he looked at Jake. Jake had chosen a single straight blade, longer than the champion's weapons, but lighter. Commander Torin had suggested it. Use your reach advantage. Stay mobile. Do not try to match his strength. Jake rolled his shoulders, feeling the weight of the blade in his hand. This was it. A horn sounded. The fight began. The champion attacked immediately, moving faster than Jake expected. Both blades came at him in a spinning pattern that seemed impossible to block. Jake dodged backward, barely avoiding the strikes. The crowd gasped. The champion pressed forward, not giving Jake time to think or plan. Jake blocked the next attack, but the force of it nearly knocked the blade from his hands. The champion was incredibly strong. Fighting him head-on would be suicide. Jake circled to the left, trying to create distance. The champion followed, patient and controlled. They exchanged blows for several minutes. Jake blocking and dodging. The champion pressing forward relentlessly. Jake's arms began to ache. He was faster than his opponent, but not by much. And the champion's experience showed in every movement. He anticipated Jake's counters before they happened. Blocked attacks that should have connected. Jake realized he was losing. The crowd could see it too. He heard murmurs from above. Disappointment. Some people laughing. The human was not good enough, just as they had always said. Then something changed. Jake felt it. A spike of emotion from the champion. Overconfidence. The man thought he had already won. Was preparing for the final strike. That overconfidence created an opening. Jake used his new telepathic sense. Felt the champion's intention a split second before he moved. When the attack came, a powerful downward strike meant to end the fight, Jake was not there. He had already moved to the side, letting the champion's momentum carry him forward off balance. Jake struck. A quick slash across the champion's arm. First blood. The fight was over. Silence filled the arena. Nobody expected this. The champion looked at his bleeding arm in shock. Then he looked at Jake with new respect. He lowered his blades and bowed. A proper warrior's bow acknowledging a worthy opponent. The crowd erupted. Some cheered. Some booed. Duke Cavro stood up, his face dark with anger. But he said nothing. He had made the challenge and his champion had lost. By the rules of tradition, he had to accept the result. Jake looked up at Zara. She was standing, tears running down her face, relief clear in her expression. He smiled at her and she smiled back. Something passed between them in that moment. Something that made his heart beat faster. Something dangerous. That night they celebrated quietly in Zara's chambers. Just the two of them. Wine and food from the kitchens. She kept touching his arm as if making sure he was really alive and unhurt. They talked for hours. About the fight. About the Duke's obvious anger. About what would happen next. Then Zara said something that changed everything. I was so scared today. When I saw you fighting, possibly dying, I realized something. She looked at him directly. You are not just my guardian anymore. You are my friend. My closest friend. The one person in this palace I trust completely. Jake felt his chest tighten. I feel the same way. You are not just my assignment. You are important to me, more than I should probably admit. They sat in silence for a moment, both knowing they were approaching dangerous territory. The life-guardian bond had rules, boundaries. Romance between a guardian and their charge was forbidden by tradition. It would complicate everything. Make enemies out of allies. Give their opponents ammunition. But Jake realized he did not care about the rules anymore. Somewhere over the past 6 months, protecting Zara had become more than duty. She had become the most important person in his life. And from the way she was looking at him, he knew she felt the same way. Before either of them could say anything else, an alarm sounded throughout the palace. Red lights flashed. Jake jumped to his feet, hand going to his weapon. Zara stood as well, her face serious. They both knew what this meant. Someone had breached security. Commander Torin's voice came through Jake's communicator. All guards to defensive positions. We have multiple intruders in the palace. The princess must be secured immediately. Jake and Zara looked at each other. The conspiracy was making its move. After months of waiting, the real attack was finally here. And Jake had a terrible feeling that this time the enemy would not hold back. They had to find out who was behind this. Tonight. Before more people died. Before Zara became the next target, Jake grabbed his weapons and moved toward the door. Zara followed, ignoring his protests. If their enemies were coming, they would face them together, just like they faced everything else now. Jake moved through the palace corridors with Zara close behind him. His weapon was drawn. His enhanced senses reached out, trying to feel the emotions of people nearby. Fear was everywhere. Guards running to defensive positions. Servants hiding in rooms. But underneath it all, he felt something else. Determination. Purpose. The emotions of people who were here to complete a mission. They need to reach the queen, Zara said. My mother will be the first target. Jake nodded. He led the way toward the royal chambers, taking routes that most people did not know about. Zara had shown him the hidden passages over the months, ways the royal family could move through the palace unseen. Those passages might be their only advantage now. They found the first bodies in the hallway outside the council chambers. 3 royal guards killed quickly and efficiently. Jake checked them quickly, but they were already gone. Whoever did this was professional. Military trained, not random assassins. Weapon fire echoed from ahead. Jake moved faster, rounding the corner to see Commander Torin and a squad of guards fighting a group of intruders. The attackers wore black armor with no markings. Their weapons were top quality, and they were winning. Jake joined the fight without hesitation. His enhanced reflexes let him dodge attacks that would have killed a normal human. He dropped 2 attackers before they realized he was there. Zara took cover and returned fire as well, her aim deadly accurate despite the chaos. Together with Torin's squad, they pushed the attackers back. But Jake knew this was just the beginning. This was a full assault, coordinated, well-planned. Someone had spent months preparing for this. "Where is the Queen?" Jake shouted to Torin over the sound of weapons fire. "Secure room in the West Tower," Torin shouted back. "But we lost contact. The communication systems are compromised." Jake made a decision. "Torin, take your squad and secure the main entrance. Stop anyone else from getting in. Zara and I will go to the Queen." Torin looked at Zara. "Princess, you should stay with me." "Let Jake go alone." "No," Zara said firmly. "My mother needs to see that I am alive, that I am fighting. I am not hiding while others die for me." Torin hesitated, then nodded. He respected her courage even if he did not agree with her choice. "Be careful. Both of you." Jake and Zara ran toward the West Tower. They encountered more attackers on the way. Some they fought, some they avoided. Jake's telepathic sense warned him when enemies were near, letting them take alternate routes. But time was running out. He could feel it. They finally reached the secure room. The door was massive, designed to withstand explosions and energy weapons. But someone was working on breaking through. Jake could see the glowing marks where cutting tools were eating through the metal. And standing in front of the door directing the work was Duke Kavros. The Duke turned when he heard them approach. He did not look surprised. He looked satisfied. "Ah, the human and the princess. How convenient. Now I can finish all of my problems at once." "You are behind this," Zara said. Her voice was filled with anger and betrayal. "All of the attacks. The assassins. All of it was you, of course." The Duke smiled. "Your mother has been destroying our traditions for decades, making weak treaties with inferior species, giving rights to common people who should know their place. She had to be stopped. And you, foolish girl, would have continued her work. I could not allow that. So you decided to murder us," Jake said. "To take control of the Empire for yourself, not murder. Justice." The Duke gestured to his soldiers. "Kill them both. Make it look like they died fighting the attackers." The soldiers moved forward. Jake counted 6 of them. All heavily armed. All trained. This was going to be difficult. But he had faced worse odds before. And this time he had Zara fighting beside him. The fight was brutal. Jake used every skill he had learned in 6 months of training. Every enhancement his body now possessed. He moved like water, flowing around attacks, striking where enemies were weak. Zara fought with the precision of someone trained since childhood in combat. Together they were devastating. But the soldiers were good too. And the Duke was not just standing by. He joined the fight, proving he was more than just a politician. He was a warrior himself, skilled and dangerous. Jake found himself fighting the Duke while Zara handled the remaining soldiers. The Duke was strong and fast, but Jake had something he did not. The telepathic sense. Jake could feel the Duke's intentions moments before he acted. It gave him just enough advantage to stay alive, to block attacks that should have killed him, to counter when openings appeared. Behind them, the door to the secure room exploded inward. Someone had finished cutting through. The Duke's soldiers rushed inside. Jake heard Queen Lysandra's voice shouting orders. More weapon fire. The Queen was fighting for her life. Jake made a desperate move. He let the Duke's next attack through, taking a blade cut across his ribs. But the opening let him get close. Close enough to grab the Duke's arm. Close enough to use his enhanced strength to break bone. The Duke screamed and dropped his weapon. Zara finished the last soldier and ran toward the secure room. Jake followed, leaving the Duke wounded on the floor. They entered to find chaos. Queen Lysandra was backed into a corner. surrounded by 3 soldiers. Her guards were dead or dying. She was fighting with everything she had, but she was losing. Jake and Zara attacked from behind. The soldiers, focused on the queen, did not see them coming until it was too late. In moments, the fight was over. The soldiers were down. The queen was safe. Mother, Zara ran to her. "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine," the queen said. But her face was pale. She had been wounded. Blood stained her robes. "We need to secure the palace, find out how many traitors are among us." "Duke Kavros," Jake said. "He is the leader." He was directing the attack. The queen's expression hardened. "Then we end this now." She walked past them, moving back into the hallway where the Duke was still on the floor, holding his broken arm. The queen stood over him, and Jake had never seen anyone look more powerful or more angry. "You betrayed your empire," the queen said. "Betrayed your oath, for what? Power you were not strong enough to earn." The Duke laughed through his pain. "It does not matter. Even if you kill me, others will continue. Your reforms have made enemies everywhere. You cannot stop what is coming." "I do not have to stop it," the queen said. "My daughter will. She is stronger than you ever understood, and she has guardians who will die before letting harm come to her." She looked at Jake. "Guards, take this traitor to the cells. He will stand trial for his crimes." Over the next few hours, the palace was secured. Commander Torin and his loyal guards arrested dozens of conspirators. Some fought and died. Some surrendered. By dawn, it was over. The coup had failed. Jake and Zara sat together in the palace gardens watching the sun rise. They were both exhausted, covered in blood and dirt, but alive. The garden where Jake had saved Zara months ago was peaceful now. Birds sang in the trees. Water flowed in the fountains. It was hard to believe that hours ago people were dying in these same corridors. "Thank you," Zara said quietly. "For the 100th time you saved my life. Saved my mother's life. Saved the Empire." Jake took her hand. "That is what guardians do. You are more than a guardian to me." She looked at him, her purple eyes bright in the morning light. "You know that." We both know that. Jake did know. Had known for months. But saying it out loud made it real. Made it something they would have to deal with. The life guardian bond. The traditions. The politics. All of it stood in their way. "I love you," he said. The words came out before he could stop them. "I do not know when it happened. Maybe the first time I carried you through those station tunnels. Maybe when you helped me learn to control my abilities. Maybe yesterday when I thought I might lose you. But I do, I love you," Zara smiled. Tears ran down her face. "I love you too. Have for months. I was just too scared to say it." They sat in silence, holding hands, watching the sunrise. Both knowing that loving each other would make everything more complicated, but neither of them cared anymore. They had fought together, nearly died together, saved each other's lives more times than they could count. That meant something. That meant everything. 1 month later, Queen Lysandra called them both to the throne room. The same throne room where Jake had first met her, where his life had changed forever. The queen looked tired. The battle had taken a toll on her, but her eyes were still sharp, still full of strength. "I have made a decision," she said. "About your future. Both of you." Jake and Zara stood before her, waiting. The queen smiled. It was a real smile, warm and genuine. "I know about your feelings for each other. Do not look surprised. I am not blind. And I am not opposed to it. In fact, I am making it official." She paused. "There is ancient precedent in our history. Life guardians who earned the right to stand beside their charge as equals. As partners. I am invoking that precedent now." Zara gasped. "Mother, that has not been done in 1,000 years. Then it is time to revive the tradition." The queen looked at Jake. "You have proven yourself worthy a dozen times over. You are no longer just a guardian. You are family, and when Zara takes the throne, you will stand beside her, not as a servant, but as her partner in ruling this empire." Jake could not speak, could not process what she was saying. The queen was giving him permission to be with Zara, more than permission. She was making it law. The queen continued, "I am dying. You know this. I have perhaps a year left. Maybe less. The poison is winning." She looked at Zara with such love that Jake felt his throat tighten. "I need to know that when I am gone, you will have someone strong beside you. Someone who loves you for who you are, not for what you represent. Jake is that person." Zara ran to her mother and hugged her. Tears streamed down her face. Jake looked away, giving them privacy, but he felt the weight of what was coming. The queen was dying. Zara would become queen, and Jake would have to help her bear that burden. The next year passed quickly. Too quickly. Queen Lysandra worked tirelessly to prepare Zara for rule, to strengthen alliances, to root out the last of the conspirators. Jake was by Zara's side through all of it, learning what it meant to help lead an empire. When the queen finally passed, the entire empire mourned. She had been a great ruler, a reformer who tried to make things better for everyone, not just the powerful. Her funeral was attended by leaders from 100 worlds. Humans came too, representatives from Earth, honoring the queen who had given one of their own such an important role. Zara became queen the next day. Jake stood beside her as she took the oath, as she accepted the crown, as she addressed her people for the first time as their ruler. And when she finished, she turned to him and took his hand in front of everyone. "This man saved my life," she said, "more than once. He has proven his loyalty and his love. By the ancient laws of our people, I name him my consort and partner. He will stand with me as I lead you, and together we will continue the work my mother began." The crowd cheered. Not everyone was happy. Some of the noble families still saw Jake as an outsider, but most recognized what he had done. How he had changed from a random human on a space station to someone worthy of standing beside their queen. That night, Jake and Zara stood on the balcony of the royal palace. The same balcony where Jake had spent so many nights over the past year, watching the stars and wondering about his future. Now he knew his future. It was here, with Zara, building something new. "Do you ever regret it?" Zara asked, "Saving me that day. If you could go back knowing everything that would happen, would you still do it?" Jake pulled her close. "Every single time. You are the best thing that ever happened to me, even if it started with me being kidnapped by your mother." Zara laughed. "She did not kidnap you. She invoked ancient law, same thing." They stood in comfortable silence looking out over the city, over the empire that was now theirs to protect and guide. Jake thought about how far he had come. From a soldier doing security work on a trading station to the partner of an alien queen. It was impossible, crazy, but it was real. And as he stood there with Zara in his arms, Jake realized something important. He had not just saved a princess from death that day on Nexus Prime. He had saved himself, had found purpose and meaning he never knew he was looking for, had found love in the last place he expected. The alien queen had insisted he remain, and now Jake could not imagine being anywhere else. This was his home. Zara was his home, and together, they would face whatever came next, because that is what partners do. They face the future together. No matter how impossible it might seem,